welcome back to the Prestige webinar series. My name is Shannon. I am Supervisor of Operations here at Prestige. Today we have an information-packed webinar on FSA versus HSA. You'll learn about these benefit plan options and the differences between them. Today we are joined by Brady Moss, Relationship Executive of Optum Financial. How are you today, Brady?
Doing great. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing great. Today, we're going to learn exactly what an FSA is, all the different types of FSAs, eligible expenses, contribution limits, how you can save, and so on. We will also discuss HSA accounts. We'll review the differences between an HSA and an FSA, how these accounts can help you save money, and what it looks like in the process. Both FSAs and HSAs have their benefits, and it's important to know the differences between these types of accounts so that you can plan how you will utilize them. As always, all participants are muted and will stay muted. Please take advantage of the Q&A function in the chat over here. If we have time at the end of Brady's presentation, we will get to your questions. If we're short on time, we will follow up with you after the presentation. We will always post our content on prestigepeo.com/webinars. So please look out for this and our past webinars as well. I'm ready to call up Brady to jump in and take us through an awesome amount of content. Let's get started, Brady.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Shannon. So as Shannon mentioned, my name is Brady Moss. I am the relationship executive that manages the account for Prestige. I do work with your HR team on a day-to-day basis, helping with any kind of questions, concerns as it relates to enrollments, claims, any kind of major escalations and things along those lines. I have been with Optum since about 2012, all in our financial services team, and so I've got quite a bit of background as it pertains to the FSAs and HSAs. A little bit about myself: I enjoy home improvement projects, traveling, spending time with family and friends, and then I am a little beyond obsessed with my 3 dogs, which are all Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. Shannon, I don't know if you wanted to run through the agenda for today, but basically at this point, what we're going to do, she already kind of explained what we're going to talk through. We're going to talk through the differences between an FSA and an HSA, the different types of FSAs that exist, some sample eligible expenses, contribution limits, how much you can save from a tax perspective, how you access your account, and how you pay for your qualified medical expenses. Similar to that, on an HSA, we'll be covering very similar items, including how to access your funds, the differences between the FSA and the HSA, and some of the ways that you have access to grow your funds on that. And if you'd like to go ahead and roll forward there. Okay, perfect. So Optum Financial. So we are dedicated to helping you prepare for your current and future health expenses so you can make care decisions that are best for you. We offer a wide range of accounts to save for life's most important expenses. We'll talk through 2 of those today. We do offer a robust level of educational resources for you that are available right on our website, which include videos, courses, flyers, and we also do webinars that will help you identify ways that the spending accounts can actually help you save for the future. We offer a wide variety of investment options on an HSA that will help you grow your account. And we also give 24/7 access to support both online and through our call centers to help you with any kind of challenges or issues that you may have with your accounts. Let's go ahead and get started with the FSAs. So the first question at hand is, what is an FSA? An FSA is a flexible spending account that allows you to use pre-tax dollars to pay for qualified medical expenses. The dollars that go into the account are pre-tax, payroll deducted. The account is used for covered eligible medical expenses identified by the IRS, and you are required to use the funds by the end of the year in order to fully take advantage of them and make sure that you are not forfeiting anything at the end of the year. Your plan, however, does allow for a carryover, so there is a small dollar amount that you would be able to roll forward if you didn't quite go through all of your funds. There are three types of FSAs. The first is a healthcare FSA, which is very similar to an HSA. It helps pay for certain medical, dental, vision, prescription coverage, or excuse me, prescription drugs, and various over-the-counter type expenses. The next type would be paired with an HSA. It's called a limited purpose. The next is a limited purpose FSA, which would cover for dental and vision expenses. This is actually used in order to pair with an HSA and give you access to additional tax-free dollars for your medical expenses. And then the third FSA is a dependent care FSA. It allows you to use pre-tax dollars to pay for dependent care services incurred while you work. So think child care services. Some examples of different expenses that are covered by each of the FSAs. With a healthcare FSA, you have access to use your dollars for things like acupuncture, bandages, blood pressure monitors, chiropractic cares, co-payments, contact lenses, deductibles, flu shots, hearing aids, lab fees, LASIK, and really kind of your everyday medical expenses that you may incur an out-of-pocket expense for that would be covered by your insurance. Second would be limited purpose, and as I mentioned before, that does cover for dental and vision expenses. So think your deductible, co-insurance, dental expenses, like if you're getting a filling, eye examinations, prescription eyeglasses, eye surgery, and then things like Invisalign or LASIK. And then the third would be dependent care, which will cover for your after-school programs, babysitting, childcare, nanny services, preschool, summer day camps, things along those lines, as well as if you do have a dependent elder in your family that you are taking care of, it would cover things like adult daycare centers while you're working. For contribution limits, so for both the healthcare and limited purpose FSAs, your contribution limit for 2023 is $3,050. The IRS does look at that limit each year to examine if it should be increased in order to keep up with inflation and other medical expenses that may be becoming more and more common. Dependent care is at $5,000 per year for couples filing jointly or single parents, or $2,500 per year per parent filing separately. I'd like to walk through an example of how an FSA can save you money. So in this example, Mike earns $55,000 a year and contributes $2,000 to his FSA. So as you look at this, you'll see how he saves money for both his for his medical expenses as well as some tax dollars. So in this case, with an FSA, go back. He contributes, earnings of $55,000, contributes $2,000 to the FSA, which reduces his taxable income to $53,000. Federal and Social Security taxes taken out at $15,715. After-tax dollars spent on eligible expenses, $0. So if he uses his FSA to pay for those expenses, he has no out-of-pocket expenses that would be post-tax. Spendable income brings it down to $37,286. This gives him a tax savings of $593 in comparison to if he did not contribute to the FSA for his medical expenses, but had the same expenses either way. Optum does give you flexible access to your FSA. You are able to access it via our online portal at optumfinancial.com. We do have a mobile application available for the FSA. You can find that at Optum Financial in the App Store and Google Play Store. And you're also provided with a payment card in order to pay for your services directly. Using a payment card, we'll go through some additional information on what is required for that should Optum make any requests for that in the future. With the payment card, it allows you to pay for healthcare expenses at the point of care. The mobile app or online claim would give you an opportunity to file a claim for your expenses that you may have incurred out of pocket if you, say, for example, didn't have your card on you, or you prefer, like myself, to get points using a different card and then reimburse yourself. So with that, you're able to file a claim online, snap a picture of your documents and quickly upload them online or using the mobile app. And then the final option would be to submit a paper claim to Optum Financial with the required documentation. So real quick here before we move forward, so required documentation with an FSA, the IRS does require that 100% of medical expenses using an FSA are substantiated. We do make best effort to try to auto-substantiate expenses for you, like a copay. We cannot guarantee that we can identify what an expense is based on a provider's name. Think of it like this. So if you go to a grocery store and you use your card, if you looked at your bank statement, you would see you went to the grocery store, but you don't necessarily know what you bought there. And so what the IRS does ask you for is validation that what you were using the money for is a valid expense. And so they will ask for us to provide documentation should we ever get audited. The documentation needs to include 5 items. It needs to include the date of service that services were provided, the dollar amount charged for those services, the service that was provided, the provider's name, and then the patient's name. As long as those items are on the documentation, so think EOB, we will certify that the expense is valid as long as it is contained within the valid expenses for an FSA. Keep in mind, even if your card does work, there are situations where the IRS does not allow for an FSA to be used. So think teeth whitening, think warranty programs for a pair of eyeglasses. The IRS says you're welcome to have those services done. However, you are not able to use your pre-tax dollars to pay for those. So just keep those things in mind as you're using any of these items, payment card, mobile app, or submitting a paper claim. We always need to show documentation. We'll do best effort that we can to not ask you for that information if you use your card, but there will be circumstances that we make those requests. So when can I request reimbursement? So as soon as you incur an expense and have documentation to support it, you are able to submit a claim. If you use your card, that's perfect. That is the initiation of submitting a claim. If you paid for it out of pocket, or if you've just gotten the bill and want to get a reimbursement for that before you've paid, if you don't plan on using the card or the provider doesn't take your card, you can submit a claim for reimbursement as soon as you've got valid documentation for that. You are able to access your funds, again, using payment card, online, or submitting paper claims. And then that final question, will I have to submit documentation for card payments? So yes, in some instances, we will ask for that information. Optum will stay in communication with you if that is something that we would need, and then we would just ask that you provide that documentation in order to validate your expense. Some key dates for you. So December 31st of 2022 was the last day to incur expenses for the 2022 plan year. March 31st, 2023 is the last day to submit expenses that were incurred in 2022 for reimbursement to Optum for the 2022 plan year. So those are very important dates. So if you had an FSA last year, you've got a little bit of flexibility with getting those expenses to us. Say you stockpiled those expenses throughout the year and wanted to get a larger lump sum at a later date. That's your time period that you have between December 31st and March 31st to submit those to us. As of April, balances up to $570 would roll forward into the 2023 plan year from the 2022 plan year. And then December 31st of 2023 will be your last day to incur expenses for the 23 plan year. Now, you want to make the most of your Optum Financial FSA throughout the year. Know your plan deadlines. Spend your funds. Don't lose them. So again, we mentioned that this is a use it or lose it plan, meaning that when you're enrolling in an FSA, plan out what your expenses most likely are. Think about, do I go to the dentist and need a filling every year? Do I get 3 prescriptions, or do I have something regular? Do I buy a pair of eyeglasses each year? Think about the things that you spend your money on throughout the year that you could use the FSA for. So when you're making that election, you can make it smart and make it so it's not a situation where you would ever lose funds. And then if you are getting close to the end of the year and you just haven't gone through funds, we do offer a store online that would give you access to FSA eligible expenses like Band-Aids, sunscreen, things along those lines. And by being a Optum Financial enrolled participant, you are eligible for discounts online as well. All the information that you would be looking for would be available at optumfinancial.com. So that will give you access to all kinds of information as it relates to how to spend your money wisely. Okay, so going into a similar account, an HSA or a health savings account. So what is an HSA? An HSA is a health savings account that is a deposit account that lets you use pre-tax dollars to pay for qualified medical, dental, and vision expenses. I know it sounds very similar to that of an FSA. There are differences. So an HSA does require a qualifying high deductible health plan. Funding can come from anybody. So commonly comes from your employer, comes from yourself through payroll deductions. Your neighbor can put funds in, your parents can put funds in. Anyone that is willing to give you money can put funds into an HSA account. It does not strictly have to be you. The IRS does place annual contribution limits on the amount that can be deposited. You, however, can earn interest, and you do have opportunities to invest in HSA once you meet a specific threshold. And then balances. So this is different from an FSA in that balances are not use it or lose it. This is a savings account, meaning that if you want to use this as a savings vehicle for the future, you certainly can. A lot of people will actually use this as a retirement savings vehicle. And so you can use it truly as a savings vehicle to save money for use today or for later on in your life. So how it helps you save money. So with an HSA, it's often referred to as a triple tax savings account, where deposits that go into the account are exempt from income tax. The savings grow income tax free. So as you grow your account, those are essentially free dollars. And then any money that comes out of the account for qualified medical expenses comes out income tax free as well. HSA savings in action. So let's say I think you can just tap the space bar to get the rest of the account up here, or you can go ahead and bring the whole slide up here. So let's say you deposit $3,000 into your HSA through payroll deductions. So pre-tax contributions, your federal, state, income tax, and FICA savings for the year are at $1,235. You earn interest on your account and you withdraw $2,000 to pay for qualified medical expenses. Those earnings come out income tax free and withdrawals, as long as the withdrawals are for qualified medical expenses. And let's say you have $1,000 left in the account at the end of the year. That's okay. It is not a use it or use it account, so those dollars are available for you for future expenses or for savings purposes into retirement. You'll see qualified medical expenses. This list looks nearly identical to that of an FSA. So think of any of your out-of-pocket expenses that insurance would cover, plus some over-the-counter expenses. So sunscreen, surgery, co-pays, lab fees, if you want to get laser surgery or LASIK surgery, Invisalign, things along those lines. And again, you can pair this with a limited purpose FSA for additional tax savings. All right. So each year, the IRS does determine a savings limit for the HSA. It has generally increased year over year as inflation has gone up, and so for 2022, the limits were $3,650 as an individual, $7,300 for a family. In 23, that did increase for both the individual and family levels to $3,850 as an individual, $7,750 as a family. And then if you're over age 55, you can contribute an additional $1,000 a year as a catch-up contribution. If you have a spouse that is also in a high deductible health plan, they are able to contribute an additional $1,000 themselves into a separate account in their name. All right. So how do I know if I'm eligible for an HSA? So you must be covered by a qualified high deductible health plan on the first day of the month. You have no other health coverage except what is permitted by the IRS, so no secondary coverage. You're not allowed to be enrolled in Medicare, TRICARE, or TRICARE for Life. You haven't received any VA benefits within the last 3 months, with exception to preventative care, or if you have a disability rating from the VA, the exclusion doesn't apply. You can't be claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return. You're not saving in an FSA or an HRA. And then other restrictions and exceptions may also apply. We recommend that you just consult with a tax advisor before you enroll in an HSA. I think there's a second roll on this one too. So with HSAs, we mentioned that you can grow your balance. So there are thresholds that will allow for you to grow or enroll into investments. So we offer mutual funds we actually offer over 30 mutual funds with high Morningstar ratings and low expense ratios. We also offer digitally managed investments, so online investment support through Betterment, brief questionnaires on goals and risk profiles to help you determine where is best to place your funds. There are low cost exchange traded funds, and auto deposit and automatic rebalancing of accounts. So just think of this similar to your 401k, where you have access to investments to help grow your balance. Depending on how risk averse you are, these will help you grow your balances as well. All right, so this is an example of how investments can actually help you save or help you grow your funds. So say, for example, you contribute $3,000 a year to your HSA until retirement. Assuming you use $1,500 a year for medical expenses, earn 7% a year in interest and investments, and reinvest all your earnings, your savings can really add up. So give you an example, starting at age 25, if you did that exact model, you would have $292,955. Versus if you started that at age, say, 45, you'd have $60,184. So the earlier you can get into investments, similar to a 401k, the greater advantage you potentially have in growing your funds for future and retirement expenses, if that is your goal. Similar to the FSA, you can access your HSA online. The websites are slightly different for you. So the online portal would be found at optumbank.com. The mobile app is also called the Optum Bank mobile application. And similar to the FSA, you're also provided with a payment card. Documentation that's needed for an HSA. So we do not collect documentation associated to expenses. That is your job. If the IRS were to ever audit you, they will ask you to provide documentation that supports the expenses being valid. That is completely on you to make sure that that documentation is saved for your future. We do, however, give you access to a repository that you can save your receipts on through our website. So that is something that you can look at when you're browsing through our site. So who owns my account? You do. This is an individually owned bank account. It is a true bank account because you do own it. Do I need to keep my receipts? As I mentioned, yes, you do. We will not be asking for them, however. If you already have an HSA, can you have another open? Yes, absolutely. You can have as many open as you choose. Oftentimes, it is a better bet to combine those for purposes of fees associated to the account. If you're being charged for one account and not another, it is best to combine those.
All right. I personally learned a lot. This is going to be a highly sought out webinar deck for all of us here. We do have a couple of questions that came through to our chat. So
Excellent.
Let's take a look. The first one we should address is, can you have an FSA and an HSA at the same time?
You can have a limited purpose FSA and an HSA at the same time. If you are not in a high deductible health plan, since an HSA is an individually owned account, as long as you are not contributing to the HSA, you can have an FSA. So there's kind of caveats that go with each, but essentially if you're contributing to an HSA, you're only eligible to go into the limited purpose FSA, which is good for dental and vision expenses.
Okay. And we had a related question, which is, what if you're changing jobs during the year? Your prior job had an FSA and you're still filing claims, the FSA account is still open. Can you participate in the HSA immediately at the new job?
That is good. You are best to approach your tax advisor for best advice on that. What we can say, however, is if you still have access to funds in your FSA, you cannot contribute to an HSA. So in those types of situations, my best suggestion would be work with your tax advisor to determine what is going to be best for you for the year.
Okay, that's helpful. If you are terminated from the company, what are the critical dates?
What are the critical dates for
FSA or HSA, or how long is there a timeline for when they end?
You know what? I'm going to need to take that one offline, and we will get you that answer back.
Okay. Okay. Great. Related to HSAs, if you have dependents and are parent filing single, can you contribute additional to your HSA to cover the children?
Read that one to me one more time.
For HSAs, if you have dependents and are a parent filing single, can you contribute additional to your HSA to cover your children?
If you claim your dependents on your taxes, then and they are covered by a high deductible health plan, then you are able to contribute the higher dollar amount to the HSA.
Right. The last one I'm seeing here relates to the interest bearing on it. If you can invest on the HSA, if you can invest in other vehicles such as a mutual fund?
So we do offer a wide variety of mutual funds. So the trick with this is if you're investing, you do need to go through our investment tools in order to make investments to keep the account open. If you transfer funds out, the account ends up closing and then you're not able to make contributions. So if your employer is making contributions, you just don't have a way for them to make that contribution to the account. As long as you keep working with Optum, we do have a wide variety of mutual funds. We also offer a robo-advisor through Betterment that will allow for you to make additional selections for investments.
Thank you so much, Brady. Hopefully we'll have you back again really soon. Everyone here can view this webinar recording on our website by visiting prestigepeo.com/webinars. We're also going to post Brady's contact information on the webinar landing page. So if your question was not addressed today thoroughly, or you have further questions, you can reach out to Brady. You can also reach out to your benefits specialist for additional guidance. As always, we appreciate your feedback. So please feel free to share your opinions on today's presentation so that we can continue to develop webinars with the information that you need the most. You can also follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter for current happenings at Prestige and the latest information. Listen to our podcast, HR in 15, for information-packed episodes in a bite-sized package. Finally, remember to download our Prestige Go mobile app for access to your benefits information and support from your HR team members on the go. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time.